Hello YouTube family. Today we're going to go down to the blueberry field and we are going to top out a lot of our blueberry plants. They've gotten really big this year, really got too tall. We are going to take the top maybe 2 to 3 feet off so that the bushes are only about maybe 4 or 5 feet. And we'll go ahead and clean out some of the older canes in there as well. Let's head down and I'll see you down at the field. As you can see how tall these bushes have gotten. This one's not quite as bad, but it's still probably at least 7 feet tall, which makes it where you can't pick the berries at the top without bending the limb down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and take out some of these middle canes, some of the older ones that have gotten really tall, and we'll cut back. They've gotten really wide, so it makes it hard for mowing. So we'll cut back and try to get this into a nice shape where we've got a lot of the new growth, and I'm doing it this time of the year in hopes of that it will send out some new shoots for next year. The good berries are always growing on the newer shoot. That's what our aim is for right now. So I'm going to be using my new DeWalt pruner. Got it at Home Depot today, and I've already pruned probably 150 bushes today, so it makes it really quick and easy. So let's get to it. Okay, so as you can see, we've gotten the center really cleared out, which will let all the sunlight come in and it'll help all this really start to grow now. And now that we've cut off a lot of the older material, it should start sending out some new shoots, if not from these main canes, maybe from the ground. And so really should have been doing this last year, but time got away from me. We're doing it this year. And I only have maybe a couple hundred more bushes to go. Come here and get a picture of the video. We've got a little friend here in our bush that I'm wanting to try to prune here. He looks like he's asleep. Tell you what, we'll move on and leave him alone, and because I don't want Bela to hurt it, because we love our black snakes. So we'll move on down a little bit. Okay, so on this bush, we've done a pretty good job. I've still got a few little areas that need a little work, but this one has a shoot coming out here that hopefully by the end of the year, the season, that will get some height to come on up in the center here, and that'll be a good fruiting branch. And then we've got some around the base. Now for me, these are a little too far away. I like to try to keep it within 12 inches of the main trunk. And so these will all probably just get cut down this around February is when I do the main pruning. We'll see. There may be some new ones that pop up. Do a couple more and you can get a good idea. This one's got a really tall center, and so we'll probably cut this one out. Try to clear out the center as much as possible here. I get a lot of these lower leaves out, or limbs out of the way. All right. One of the questions I always get is, how do you know which limbs to cut? And I really don't have a solid answer for you, other than I know I like to cut out anything that's crossing from one side to the other. We'll get rid of that. I try to get rid of as many of these limbs that are on the outside in the aisles where I've got to mow. I try to keep it out of that, and I try to get rid of anything that's any of the bark. You can tell on some that they get real scaly down here. You can see like this is really old. This is probably 10-year-old wood. Now, if it starts getting on up like this here, it just doesn't produce very well anymore. So I'll just come in and cut it out and try to get as much of the old stuff out as I can, leaving the new. Now this will actually pop out some new material probably within a week or so. It doesn't take long for it to start pushing out new growth. Still keeping in mind to clear out as much of this center as we can so that the inside of the bush can get as much sunlight as possible. People always ask, how do you know how much to cut? Well, in my experience, the more I prune, the better the bush does. People are always afraid to cut and prune the bushes because they're afraid to see it's going to be fruit that they're not getting. Well, in a way that's true, but the fruit that they do get is going to be a lot nicer, it's going to be bigger, and it's going to be juicier. I like to cut a lot off, and every year I'm rewarded for doing that. We got a ton of growth this year, and you can see people would say I'm murdering this bush, but we'll come back to this bush next year and you'll be amazed at how much growth has come back on this and how much it produces next spring. Just clear out any dead stuff that's still left on the bush. Like there's a lot of this little stuff. I'll just take my hand, bring it down, just break off all these dead twigs. Tell you what, when you're doing this many bushes, doing it with hand press is not fun. I have plenty of blisters to prove that. It's not looking too bad. Let's step back, take a look. If there's anything, it's right here. Get rid of that. I think that's enough. That's going to shoot out a lot of new growth for next spring. I think that one will be okay. You want me to cut this one? Yeah, let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Trim that up a little bit. Okay. We can always come back in February. Once it grows out again, we'll figure out what we need to cut from there. But that's got a pretty good, let's cut this. So that's going across. Okay, we'll do one more. And I think that'll kind of give you an idea. And I'm going to finish up the rest of these, hopefully this evening. It's not pretty strong. When pruning, like this cane, you can see how flimsy that is, just that little bit. Now when this has berries on it next year, this will probably not get a whole lot thicker. It's already leaning. Probably what I'll do is I'll take this top off here, and then that'll allow that to kind of sit up. And these limbs right here, these new branches here, will go ahead and go out a little bit wider. I'll leave that. So anything that's kind of leaning, you just want to kind of get rid of it, because all it's going to do is once it gets a few berries on it, it weights it down. Berries are really heavy and they'll end up on the ground. You want to try to remove any of that as you can. All right, I think that ought to do for that. This bush doesn't look quite as healthy, so I'm going to cut it back pretty good just to see if we can get some new healthy growth to come out of the bottom down here. It's definitely deficient in something. The pH may be off a little bit, so we'll check that this fall. But yeah, it doesn't look as healthy. Got one good little shoot coming up here, so maybe and 2 and 3. This one really needs to be cut back as well. You see how that looks with all this growth on it? So that's really old. That's probably the original shoot. So we're going to go ahead and cut it back this year all the way down. Take that out, see if we can get some newer shoots to come out. Well, it looks like we got a couple more down here that probably are going to need to come out. This one's got a lot of new growth on it, so taking this old stuff out will only help. This one's going to get a really good haircut. All right. I expect that to really push some new growth out this year. All right, I think I'm gonna call it a night. The bugs are starting to bite. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll keep putting out content like this, especially with the blueberries. There's a lot of things we're gonna be doing here in the next month to get season done with. A lot of cleanup stuff. getting weeds out, getting things mowed, finished pruning. We've still got our late season berries we've still got to prune. There's probably 200 bushes down there. Those are really vibrant growing bushes, so it's going to take a while to get those done. Thanks again, and if you like the content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll get notified when we have new content, and hit the like. If you got pruning questions, throw them down in the comments. I'll be glad to answer anything that any questions you may have. So thanks again.